Chapter 7. When he woke up punctually at 5 a.m., Zhou Shang habitually hugged the warm body beside him. The man's hair was very messy. His profound and handsome facial features revealed a lazy look of satisfaction after rolling in the bed. His eyes, which always flickered with a dangerous light, were tightly closed at the moment, enticing Zhou Shang to lean over to kiss. As a system-controlled villain that happened to be purely gay, Zhou Shang's past life was very awful. He would always be forced to fall in love with someone, even initiating the most intimate contact. Whenever this happened, the system would automatically control his body. Many times when he sobered up, he'd find a heroine either cursing him or threatening to commit suicide, or perhaps intending to die with him. Ironically, even more than the other person, he was the one who actually wanted to curse, threaten to commit suicide, and take everyone along with him in death. Unable to beat looking back at his past, Zhu Shang pinched the man's sexy and heroic jaw, giving him a deep kiss. Zhu Xulang already awakened the moment his lover opened his eyes, but he knew that his lover had a habit. Whenever he got up before him, he'd stare at him for a long time, then give him a deeply emotional kiss. His lover's appearance was handsome and gentle. His mouth always had a slight smile. But when you really get to know him, you find that he had a very strong character. This led to their love usually being like a battle for control, passionate, fantastical, satisfying. Once he tasted it, he couldn't get enough. He smirked and cupped his lover's cheeks to return the kiss. He treated this relationship with unprecedented seriousness, but at first he never thought about the topic of how long the relationship would last. But with the passage of time, his lover's facial features matured, gradually blossoming a dazzling radiance, attracting his thoughts to linger on him for long periods of time. He suddenly found himself thinking that he should do something to capture him forever, frankly, possessing him. Zhu Shang didn't know Du Shulang's thoughts. He just felt that the other man was particularly excited today, playing around in bed for more than 2 hours before he was willing to stop. Fortunately, his body's data was improved. Otherwise, his waist would break. They took a bath together and was preparing to call for takeaway when the phone rang. Zhou Shang looked at the caller ID. His brow couldn't help but rise slightly. The caller was Zhou Wan'ang. Okay, I'll head back right away. After silently listening to the phone call, he threw away the phone and began packing his bags. What's the matter? Du Zhulang felt that his lover's expression was somewhat wrong. Zhuo Hao is dying. They asked me to come back. Zhuo Shang replied without lifting his head, but his face completely lacked the sorrow of losing a loved one. Rather, it held anticipation and mischievousness. He glanced at the eye on his wrist. The progress bar in the upper left corner had risen to 50% when he founded Noah Universal, but hadn't changed since then. But Zhou Hao's death was the starting point of the original owner's tragic life. He could only completely disrupt the world's development course by destroying this event. He stretched out his tongue to lick at his lips. Zhu Shang suddenly felt it difficult to express excitement. The two packed up their bags, booked tickets, and arrived at Zhou's residence that evening. Big brother, you're back! Zhou Wen'ang briskly walked up to greet him, tightly embracing the brother he hadn't seen in many years. His eyes were flushed, tears flickering, seemingly very excited. If Du Sulang hadn't investigated the other man, he would have been cheated by his superb acting. Dad, Zhu Shang pushed him aside. He looked very calm. Even his tone revealed a bit of indifference. It wasn't as it wasn't that he was a bad actor and couldn't pretend to be grieving. Rather, his strength was beyond his opponent's, so he was too lazy to disguise himself. Dad's upstairs. The doctor said he wouldn't make it through the night and let me take him home. Laying in the hospital, he always felt uncomfortable. Zhou Wen'ang said as he led the two people upstairs. Seemingly unconsciously, he asked, "All right, how did Assistant Du come? Did you guys run into each other?" And before Zhou Yunsheng could reply, Du Shulang gently opened. "I didn't run into him. We're currently dating. I'm Yunsheng's boyfriend." Actually choosing to come out of the closet at his father-in-law's deathbed, Du Shulang obviously didn't intend to let his father-in-law die in peace. Why was it his father-in-law, not father-in-law? It's a Chinese. Makes more sense. Zhou Yunsheng scorned in his heart, but it was different. Indifferent eyes finally brought out a little smile, nodding in agreement. Zhou Wen'ang tripped on air and almost fell up the stairs. Fortunately, the old housekeeper that was following him along caught him. "You go, I'll wait outside." Arriving at the door, Du Shulang had no intention of going in for a visit. Zhou Yunsheng didn't think it was strange. He touched his handsome face as he strolled in. The dusky room was filled with the scent of medicine and the atmosphere of approaching death. Zhou Hao was covered in tubes, his wrinkled chest barely visible, moving up and down. "Dad, big brother, come back!" Zhou Wen'ang symbolically shouted into Zhou Father's ear. Seeing Zhou Father not respond, he almost couldn't wait to kick Zhou Yunsheng out. Yunsheng's back? But when the two walked back to the door, Zhou Father awoke. He said with some difficulty, "Yunshen, I let you down. I let down your mother. I killed her." "Dad, those things are long past. We don't blame you. Mother was depressed. It has nothing to do with you. Please feel at ease. Don't think about those sort of things." Zhou Wen'ang rushed towards the bedside and forcefully pinched Father's hand. They say that a man's words on his deathbed were always from the heart. When Zhou Father intensely insisted on calling back Zhou Yunsheng, he had a premonition that Zhou Father wanted to tell Zhou Yunsheng the truth of those years. 99 steps were already taken. Seeing the final step ahead, how could he let all those years of planning fail for nothing? Zhou Father was in pain. Seeing the pleading in his youngest son's eyes, he ultimately decided to bring the secret into hell. Seeing Zhou Father fall asleep, not awakening from any shock, Zhou Wen'ang inwardly sighed in relief. Zhou Yunsheng had been standing 3 meters away as a spectator. The corner of his mouth raised in a mocking smile. Meanwhile, Zhou Wenjing rushed into the Zhou residence, inevitably shocked when he found his uncle present. "I'll explain later. Do you want to go in and take a look?" Du Zhulang pointed to the door with a cigarette in hand. Then he casually entered the next door study to blatantly eavesdrop. Zhou Father's bedroom and study were connected together, only separated by a thin door. Sitting in the study, he could clearly hear their conversation. Zhou Wenjing hesitated for a moment, then he also went in. Zhou Yunsheng's hearing was far above ordinary people. Naturally, he heard the footsteps, but he didn't mind. Sitting in the armchair near the bedside, he casually asked, "Father, why do you feel sorry for me? Is it because you murdered my mother?" Zhou Father suddenly opened his eyes, then he started coughing violently. Zhou Wen'ang suppressed his fluster with great difficulty. While helping Zhou Father pat his chest, he chided, "Big brother, what nonsense are you saying? Mother committed suicide." "What qualifications do you have to call her mother? Are you her son?" Zhou Yunsheng sunk into the chair comfortably, crossing his slender legs. Zhou Wen'ang's face completely distorted. The two eavesdropping next door also couldn't help but breathe heavier. The EKG machine issued a long beep. Then it eventually stopped fluctuating. Zhou's father had died of fright, but no one in the room moved. They didn't even glance in his direction. Since it came to this stage, Zhou Wen'ang also abandoned the pretense, slowly sitting opposite Zhou Yunsheng. He pushed back his hair, revealing a face full of hostility. How did you know? Your thumb has betrayed you, Zhou Yunsheng sneered. Your thumb has one less joint than a normal person's. It's short and really ugly. That woman had the same condition. This is an unconditionally inherited dominant gene, but my mother and Zhao Hao's hands are both normal. I don't need to explain to you what that means, right? Zhou Wen'ang forcefully bent his thumb. After a long time, he let out a low laugh. Even if you know, so what? You already don't have the means to take what's mine. Zhou family is already mine. Alright, you can take Yang Xi's heritage back. You can also beg Yang family to deal with me. But unfortunately, you probably don't know yet. Yang Group is currently contracted to build an undersea tunnel between Thousand Island City and Chengdu City. Zhou Group promised to inject a 2 billion investment into Yang Group. Once Zhou clan disinvest, Yang family is finished, thoroughly bankrupt. Zhou Wen'ang seemed to feel that his own words were very amusing, his chuckles becoming hearty belly laughs. His days of being scared witless were finally going to disappear. When the Yang Group gets destroyed, how could he not feel delighted? But Zhou Yunsheng's reaction made him feel very disappointed. The other man just sat still, like before, waiting for him to finish laughing before asking, "Was it Zhou Hao who killed my mother?" "You guess," Zhou Wen'ang cleverly gave a non-answer. "These years I've been abroad, haven't you been trying to kill me? Was Elsa's poisonous cigarette prepared for me?" What a pity. Zhou Wen'ang smiled ambiguously. At this crucial moment, he wouldn't let the other side catch him. If he wanted to set him up and secretly record his words, there would be no opening. Zhou Yunsheng also smiled, walking over to pat Zhou Wen'ang's cheek. He said in a very gentle tone, "Enjoy your last festival, my dear brother." Then he pulled open the door and walked away. The two eavesdropping in the study were trying hard to digest the heavy bomb that had just dropped. Du Shulang recalled the death of a former Zhou family illegitimate child. Then he recalled how the two children almost had the same date of birth, and finally put the suspicious details together. Such a flawless scam could be seen through. Yun Shang's insight was really terrible. In the end, when did he find out? What emotions did he have at the time? His father killed his mother, his younger brother became the enemy's child. What kind of mood did he move with until today? No wonder he didn't feel a little bit of affection for Zhou Hao. No wonder his attitude towards Zhou Wen'ang changed so drastically. Du Sulang's heartache was endless. Zhou Wenjing's face was also very ugly. He didn't expect that the person he'd been on guard against all these years was not his real enemy. That kindness, comfort, gifts, all hypocritical shows of affection. These years he was like a fool being played by Zhou Wen'ang's hand and Zhou father. Even on his deathbed, didn't even mention a word about him. At this moment, he deeply wished he could strangle Zhou Wen'ang to death, but he waited until his rage settled down before going to Zhou Yunsheng's room. The servants walked in and out, methodically preparing for the coming funeral. "Your mother wasn't hounded to death by my mother." After knocking open the door, he straightforwardly said. Zhou Yunsheng raised an eyebrow. "So I don't owe you anything?" When he said this, Zhou Wenjing had no choice but to admit that he was relieved. His current view of Zhou Yunsheng was very complex. More than 10 years of accumulated hate couldn't be completely eliminated, but he also found him very pitiable. "What do you want to say?" Zhou Yunsheng patiently asked. I want to tell you, I won't take revenge against you, but I also won't help you. You have to look after yourself in the future. Because Zhou Yunsheng was too low-key, Zhou Wenying always thought that he was just a student without economic ability. He, who was already sitting on hundreds of millions, naturally looked down on him. He could never forget Zhou Yunsheng's past bullying, but now, because of pity, he would leave him a horse. That was already the greatest kindness. The other man shouldn't ask for more. These words were also to prevent Zhou Yunsheng from shamelessly seeking to gain favor with him when his identity as the chairman of Zongda Group and the head of the Du clan's nephew was exposed in the future. He naturally believed that his uncle only came to the Zhou family house now in order to support him. Zhou Yunsheng was somewhat speechless, but Zhou Wenjing gave him a steady glance and walked away. Isn't he too conceited? What was the expression and tone? Does he think I'm a pitiful stray dog? Not kicking me while I'm down is the biggest charity? Zhou Yunsheng dragged Du Shulang's tie, forcefully tightening. Du Shulang promptly hugged his lover's waist, sincerely apologizing. It's my fault. I didn't teach him well. Baby, why don't we continue this conversation in bed? It seemed that everyone had forgotten to mourn Joe's father's death.